Welcome to Bonita's Kitchen, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Today we're going to be making sweet molasses raisin bread. As promised in our commercial, here we are getting ready to make our bread. I hope everybody's in their kitchen now, starting to get everything arranged. It doesn't matter where you are, just as long as you're comfortable. Got a nice mat to stand on for your back. You got your bowl at the level where you can reach and mix. So let's get started. So what we'll do first, I'm going to put my bowl over to the side. We're going to get our yeast ready to go. And what I missed out on our little commercial for you guys, I need for you to go right now and get a tablespoonful of white sugar, because this is what we're going to have to put in our lukewarm water for our yeast to get rising. Okay, so we're going to be putting our half a tablespoonful of sugar. We're going to be 2 tablespoonfuls of yeast. This is half a tablespoonful, so I'm trying to measure out now what we need here. So this will be 2 tablespoonfuls of yeast. Could be the fast rising yeast or the regular. We're going to be letting it rise in advance in our container anyway with warm water. So this is 1 cup of warm water. So that takes away from the already 2 cup measure that we add. So we got 1 cup there waiting to mix our bread, and we got 1 cup rising our yeast. I'll try to be as clear and as slow as possible, just in case somebody drops something and you're like, oh my, I dropped it, I can't, I don't know what I'm going to do. This way it'll give you a few minutes to go and do it. But remember, when you're getting your yeast to rise, it got to be lukewarm water, and half a tablespoonful of white sugar, and your 2 tablespoonfuls of yeast. So the yeast, if you, after about 5 minutes, if it looks like your yeast is not rising, don't panic. Just put that to the side and start a new batch. Because sometimes yeast, for whatever reason, is like anything. It don't always work the way we want it. So just remember that. So that one is just put to the side. I hope everybody's excited about this program, because I am excited to bring it to you guys, because I know how difficult it is to start your own bread, and if you haven't already done it before, you should be proud of yourself for doing this today. So what we're going to do now is put all of our dry ingredients into our bowl. Now we're going to be putting all of our dry ingredients in there. We're going to be putting 8 cups of flour. I said you needed 8.5. You're going to keep a half a cup aside for as we need it. And like I said, if you need a little bit more, that's fine too. So that's 8 cups of flour I'm putting into my bowl. A half a cup of brown sugar. So we're going to be putting that in there. We're going to be doing 2.5 cups of our raisins. I'm going slow because I want for everybody to grab for their ingredients. And don't panic, because you can always rewind, because this is a pre-taped episode of Bonita's Kitchen. So this is all of our dry ingredients we're putting into our bowl first. So now we're going to be putting in 2 tablespoonfuls of cinnamon. Put it on each side of your flour. It just looks kind of nice for you to see all the different colors of things that you're putting in there. Of course, what's not going to happen with the salt is a half a teaspoonful of salt. Just toss that in there. Remember what I was saying about if you got salted butter, you can use half of that again. It's entirely up to you. We're going to be using a half a teaspoonful of ground cloves, and that one is optional as well if you don't like it too spicy, and it's not necessarily spice as in, you know, pepper. It's a real nice flavor spice. Okay, so I'm going to get you to add all that in. I hope everybody's yeast is coming along there. Mine is starting to rise nice. Now take your spoon and mix all of your dry ingredients together, just until all of it's incorporated, because this is probably the only chance that you're going to get to evenly put it all there, because once your wet ingredients go in is when you're starting to mix, and again, you don't know if it's all incorporated. So as you can see, mix it all together and then make a little center in the middle of your flour like this. Okay, so now here comes our wet ingredients. Hope everybody's ready. So we're going to be putting in our yeast. My yeast is all risen, you can see. I'm going to toss it on in. Now how you would get the rest of the yeast out of this bowl, you're going to take your 1 cup of lukewarm water, you're going to pour into the yeast bowl or measuring cup, whichever you got there, and you're going to kind of stir it around just to get all of that yeast out and pour the remainder of that into your bowl. We're pouring in a 1/4 cup of melted butter. So if you haven't already done so, just make sure it's just a bit all melted. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit not. And we got 3/4 cup of molasses, and I put a little bit of oil in my measuring cup in advance just so that it'll easily pour out. If it don't, it doesn't make no difference, because like you said, you can always scrape it into your bowl. Last but not least, we're going to be putting in a teaspoonful of vanilla. And don't panic if you don't like vanilla, you can take it out. And remember, any time in this episode, your ingredients is based on what you like. So anything that's there you don't like, except for the yeast, you can take out. So now, let's start stirring it from the center. Just take your spoon and go around and around, and gradually each time taking in a little bit of the dry ingredients to the liquid. So continue mixing it like this with your spoon. Message me at any time if you're feeling a little panic come on, or if it seems like your liquid is getting less and you need to add a little bit more lukewarm water. That's fine too, because this here is all about, you know, getting all of the ingredients mixed in there together. I hope you guys get the same smell that I'm getting with mine. It's absolutely delicious. And this is the portion that I feel sad about when I'm making things in Bonita's kitchen. You guys would say, if I only can smell it, but now you can smell it because you're actually doing it yourself. Okay, so now that it's starting to get a little tougher to move your spoon, you're going to take your spoon out and you're going to be using your hand. So basically what you're going to be doing is pinching the ingredients. You're going to go the same motion with your hand as what you did with the spoon. You're just going to twist it around and around until you start seeing all of that flour and your dry ingredients start incorporate to the wet. I hope everything is still going good for you guys. I'm so excited again that I can do this for you today, and all of us be mixing and making our bread together. So now you're going to flip over your dough. Now this way we're going to start pushing into the dough with your hand, just twisting it around, not too hard. Make sure that you don't hurt yourself doing it, because the dough is tough, and with all of the ingredients in there, with the molasses and the sugars and stuff, it's a little more dense than your white bread. But just keep pushing it all in through until it's all incorporated. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds here now to take a little spell, because it's a big workout when you're making bread. And those of you that think that it looks easy, you know it's not easy now, because you're making it yourself. So I hope everything is working out right now for you guys. Please message me at any time. Remember, this is pre-recorded, so I'm available, like you said, even after this episode is aired. You know, you can email me. I might take a little bit to get back to you, but during the running of this episode on October 30th, which is today, I'm going to make sure that you guys got all the help you need to make a perfect batch of bread. So let's get back to my bread here now. I need for you to see what we're going to do next. Okay, so it should be forming nice. So start pulling your dough in towards the center. I hope this video is showing up clear, because sometimes our camera got a tendency to focus on little things that's going on around us and not necessarily what we want it to focus on. So push down on your bread. It's like you're kneading the bread, and pull it in, because these little bits that's left there, we want all of that in the bread. So you're going to pull it in and push down, pull it in and push down. So continue doing that. It's a bit of a workout. And then flip over the bread again. I'm saying bread, but your dough, and start working it down again, because we want to get all of the ingredients put in there. I guess you all feel it's like I'm doing a workout class today, not necessarily a cooking class, because it is quite difficult. But the more you knead your dough, the better your dough is going to be. And you'll notice on the next segment, when we get to kneading it down after rising for a half an hour, you're going to hear some cracking sounds, and that's the sound you want to hear. And remember when I said to only put 8 cups of flour into this one and keep half a cup out? That's for when we go to knead the bread down. You might find it a little sticky, and we might need to use that to outwork it all together. So continue working it in. So you're nearing to the end of kneading it all together. So I hope that it's working out for you guys. And don't panic. Just remember, if the first batch don't work out, if you want to attempt to try this again, you can always just pull up the video and message me in between, and that's quite okay. I'm so glad today that everybody could join me during this episode of making homemade sweet molasses raisin bread. This house smells absolutely delicious, and I'm sure yours do too. So now we're all knead in a good workout, and it didn't cost you anything, only your homemade bread. So we're going to flip it over like this. Okay, so now that you got it all done and you just flipped it over, I'm going to take a little bit of my flour and just sprinkle over the top like this, just a small amount just to cover it, because as it starts to rise, it'll stick to the lid, so we don't want that to happen. Now this section is optional. I usually make the sign of a cross on my bread to cut it open, and I usually do it a couple of times. You don't have to do it. It's old wise tale of blessing your bread, but again, it's just what we did in Newfoundland when we made our bread, but again, it's optional. So now what we're going to do, we're going to cover this with the lid. Okay, so now, like I was saying, that the bread is all ready to cover, so we're going to take our lid. If you don't have a lid, take a piece of parchment paper, pull it off and put over the top. Because what we're going to do then, I'm just going to take it out because I don't need it right now. We're going to take a towel. You get a just ordinary towel, and we need to cover your bread with, because we need to keep it warm. It's probably warm in your house. Put it, if the sun is shining in, put it on the table by the sun shining in. But this is just to help it rise that little bit faster. So we're going to put it aside for a half an hour and let it rise to almost half of what it is right now. And then you'll meet me back here and I'll show you what else we're going to do. Now our half an hour is up on our bread rising for the first time. So we're going to take our towel off and just put it to the side, and our lid. If we haven't got a lid, take our piece of parchment paper off. And now what we're going to do is knead the bread. Okay, so what you're going to do, you're going to go from one side of your dough and push it in each time. And this is called kneading the bread. It's what we do to get the bread all ready and to go its next rising stage. And it's a little tough, You can hear a little bit of the cracking there. If you don't be concerned, because it is a darker bread than your white, and it do take a little bit more to get that going. So keep kneading it in. Now this is where you will add a little tiny bit of flour. Remember I said keep a little bit to the side, so just sprinkle a little bit over the top so as you can push it into your dough as such. And then you're going to flip the full dough over again and pull it inward until it's all folded in to the center. So I hope it's all going good for you guys on your side. Don't worry if it's not risen up a long ways, because it's got 2 more stages before it gets to the baking. So now you're going to flip over your dough like before, like this, and we're going to do that cross again. Again, it's optional, I do it, but you don't necessarily have to do it. So like this, we're going to put the lid on again, and then we're going to cover it. So we're going to set it aside once again for a half an hour until it starts to rise. Keep it nice and warm and in a sunny spot. If not sunny, just keep it warm. So before I let you go on this episode, hopefully your half an hour is used wisely, but you know, while you're waiting, you could read a book or look at some more of my videos. But I just want to tell you a little bit about the yeast. After you had taken the yeast out to get to rise, you had opened it for the first time. I want you to put the date on there, because you should always date your yeast if you bought the container like this, and then store it in the fridge until you're ready to use it again. So meet me back here in a half an hour when we start to take our dough and put it into our pans. Okay, now while we're waiting for the remaining of our rising of our bread, I'm going to get you to get out your pans. You'll need your 3 bread pans. My bread pans are quite old. My husband's mom owns these, and what we're going to do is grease them. So that'll give you a few minutes now. When I say by greasing them, we're just going to put some butter rubbed on each side to make sure it's evenly greased, because we don't want your bread to stick to the pans. Okay, so that's number 3. So these are all ready to go, and you'll need a rack for when your bread is all done or baked in the oven. You need to put it out on a rack, because you don't want it left in the pans and you don't want it left on the counter. You want that little bit of space in between. So you've got lots of time to go get that, because we're not going to be using that right now. So what I'm going to do is reach for my bread pan, and we'll start cutting our bread and putting it into the pans. So your bread should look your dough should look something like this right now. It's not risen up too much, but just enough where now we're going to cut it into portions. So you're going to need to have a sharp knife that you can cut with, and then you're going to take a portion of your dough. So you're going to bring it up with one hand like this, and then you're going to cut into it as such, right on through. You can see that it's just about this big, and now we're going to shape it into a small bun. So now you're going to take this portion of your dough and put it over into your pan, and we're going to continue doing that. We're going to cut the same size. You're going to pinch it down in under so as you could all tuck it, so as it'll all tuck in. You roll it around, it looks something like that in under and on top this way, and then you're going to put that one over into your pan. So that's 2 we got in there. Just fold it in like this and then put it into your pans. So we're going to continue doing this. I hope we're going okay. We're not too fast for you, but again, we're just cutting out the small buns to go into our pans, and they don't have to be perfect because they will look nice either way, about this size, and then put it into your pans. Your bread is going to feel a little tough If it's sticky and you want to use flour, you can, because that's what you got that extra one for. Or if you want to use some butter on your hands, just rub it in like this, because it'll make it greasy, and then it'll slip on your dough a little bit better for you. But you can decide which works best for you, the flour or the dough. We're going to put this one into the pan as well. Okay, so we're going to continue on cutting. So on this portion of making the dough formed into small pieces of dough, I want to do the full episode so that you can see, so you know what it is we're doing. So if you got any questions at this point, you can stop your footage and send me a message if you're having any trouble with this portion. But again, just fold it in under and then put it into your pans. Okay, so we're continuing on making our little small balls of dough and putting it into the pan as such. Again, remember, you could put a little bit of grease on your hand and tuck it in under, or you could use flour, whichever works best for you. So continue doing. If you got a little bit of dough left over, you can put it into equally into each one of the buns, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, at this stage you'll see that you got a little small bit of dough left. So what you're going to do, you're going to take off little pieces of it. I'm putting it here on the counter so you can see, because this is really deep. Look in your dishes to see which portion is smaller, and then add it to it. So that's all we're going to do, so we can use up the rest of this dough and just even them up just a little. So you're just going to put it in the bottom of that little ball and then twist it in and then put it back down. So we'll do it again. I'm going to do this twice more on this side because it looks like this one is a little smaller. So you just put it in the bottom and put it down. So at this point in our episode, I hope that everybody is following good, and like you said, if not, do message me at any time. We are going to cover this now with a piece of parchment paper, like I had showed you in the beginning. You put over the top, and then we're going to get the towel and put over the top of that. We're going to let it rest for about a half an hour so as it can start to rise, and it'll be probably up to about right here, another half of what it is there, because it's not going to go really high, because molasses bread is heavy, so it's harder to rise. So that's your bread pans all done with your bread. Now we're going to cover with the towel. So we got our dough in our pans, we got our parchment paper over the top so it don't stick to the towel, and the towel over it. Keep it like this for at least a half an hour. You can check it, and again, message me if you got any questions during that. So we're going to let that set now, and meet me back here again when we're at the next set. Welcome back to Bonita's Kitchen. I hope that your bread rising is coming along nice. I'm going to take the towel off mine there now, and remember that this is a dark bread, so it's a little more heavier and it's a little longer to rise, but when you put it in the oven in the heat, it'll rise that little bit more, and they'll be perfect little loaves of bread. So turn your oven on now to 350 degrees, set your timer for a half an hour. In between, you can switch your light on, just look in and see how things is going, but you shouldn't have to open your door before the half an hour is up. So meet me back here in a half an hour, and we'll get these bread out of the oven. But remember, preheat, put it in after it's ready to go. Okay, see you back here in a half an hour. So this is our favorite time that we've been waiting for, the big build up. Our bread is done. So it was 30 minutes to the count, and I'm going to dump it out now onto that rack that I showed you about. I'm going to dump each one before I tell you the next step. I hope you guys are doing well with your bread making. I hope that it's coming along. Again, I'm sure you'll message me if you need some help with that. I'm going to tip it over there now. Oh, it smells absolutely amazing in here. I'm going to What we're going to do now, we're going to put some butter over the top of the bread. Just going to equally grease them, give them a little bit of a shine, and out them, because it'll help keep it nice and moist and it wouldn't harden the outer side. So this is what your bread is going to look like when you finally get to this stage. I'm not sure if you're actually there right now. Well, what you would do, you're going to cover it with a piece of parchment paper, and then you're going to cover it with a towel, and this will lock in this bread here now so that the top of it don't get hard, and you want it nice and soft. Even though I told you to do this, I'm going to take this off right now because I want for you to see what mine looks like, and it'll give you a bit of an idea of what yours is going to look like. Also, yours may rise a little bit more depending on the elevation where you are. I think this is perfect. My husband always said that he likes it when it's just small loaves, so as he can cut it, put it in the toaster. I'm going to cut one of these now so that you actually can get to see what it looks like. I'm going to open it up. So this is the inside, and now I'm going to cut a nice piece off. This is the stage in our bread making that I'd always used to say to the kids, don't cut the bread because it's too hot. But I'm going to do it now because I want for you to see what it's going to look like. And of course it is burning hot there now, but I just want to open it up. Just look at all of those raisins, and I'm going to take a little bit of butter and just put over the top of this one just for you to look at it. Now, this is something that you're going to be waiting for, maybe with a nice cup of tea. I can't wait till I start eating my piece. And I know you're going to feel the same, because one piece is not going to be enough. I'm going to cover my bread there now while I'm ending off this portion of Bonita's Kitchen. We're doing today sweet molasses raisin bread. And as you can see, absolutely delicious. This is hot, piping hot. So when yours comes out again, if you don't want to cut it right away, you could leave it, but I don't think you're going to be able to stop yourself, because nice with some jam and maybe even more molasses over the top, it would be perfect. So if you are at this stage of your bread making, you can pat yourself on the back, give yourself a nice big round of applause, because that means you just made this wonderful bread. And you can give or serve this to anyone, but I got a feeling your first batch of molasses bread, you're going to want to keep it for yourself. So again, message me if you got any concerns during this program. Once it's offline, but it's not going to be live, but it's going to be put up there, and I'm going to open the message up for 3 hours so that I would answer any of your questions during this broadcast on October 30th. But if it's after that and you're looking at this episode, you can still message me, but I may not be able to get back to you that moment, but I will get back as soon as I can. Now I'm going to take the cloth off mine again, because I want for you to see it during this taping. I'm going to end this episode now of Bonita's Kitchen. I hope you found this helpful to you. Please take the time to subscribe if you haven't already done so to Bonita's Kitchen, and visit us on bonitaskitchen.com, and again on our Facebook page. So please try this recipe if you're not already doing so. If you did, once again, congratulations, you just made a batch of bread. Thank you for joining me once again for Bonita's Kitchen, and you have a wonderful day.